Hey, welcome to another episode. Today I'm super excited to welcome two guests, not one this time, it's two of them, Xander Chase and Ryan Lane, founders of FTL Bags. Hey, Xander. Hey, Ryan. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks,
Of
Brian.
course.
Super excited to be here. As I mentioned, love the content you're putting out, so it's awesome to be on as a guest.
Thank you. It's my pleasure too. So you guys know each other, since childhood. So how old were you when you met?
We met probably around 5 or 6 years old. We both born and raised in New York City. Our families crossed paths way earlier on when our siblings were in preschool, and just our families built a great relationship. We became close friends throughout childhood, starting in our earlier years of school, middle school, high school, and of course, throughout college and after college, both being back here in New York City.
Wow, I can totally relate with that because I actually met my first and most important to date, I would say, or longest to date business partner in high school too. We were 13 years old, and we have been, business partners for 10 years until we decided, to part ways. He wanted to be in the food industry, creating restaurants and all that crazy stuff, and I didn't. I wanted to continue the agency that we started in 2013, and now I have another business partner. She's amazing. But yes, we met with this former partner since we were young, so I can totally relate. So, how was it for you guys? Was it easy? Was it tough? When did you decide, to create FTL?
It's been super tough. I hate working with him. No, I mean, I think that's such an important part of why we're here, and I don't think we would have been here without it. Um, you obviously go through so many trials and tribulations. There's so much stress. There's so many things that don't go your way. And I think the only reason why we've been able to get through all those is because we've been doing it with like a near and dear friend. And even the bad days we're doing together and we laugh and we have fun. So I think part of our secret sauce and a big reason why we are where we are after 5 years is because like we really do love spending time together. It's fun. And so I really do think it's an advantage that we have. And so it's been like really like so great from my perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. I think you hear a lot of horror stories about going into business with close friends, and we can understand where that comes from. I think uh, for us, what works in our advantage is that this has been built on trust, kind of from day one. I think whether that's trust in yourself, trusting your co-founder, day-to-day things that come up, long-term kind of vision and everything. There's just a mutual trust and respect that I think really has played a role in, like Xander said, getting us to where we are today. And I don't think that comes without having kind of a lifelong friendship, that is founded on a friendship based, many years ago.
Yeah. Choosing a co-founder, and a business partner is really tough. In some cases, it comes naturally or sort of, like in your case, in my case, and it's we need to be grateful for that because it's really not easy. I had the I was fortunate enough to find the current business partner as well. She was like my top, let's say, team member, and I really love the way she works, and my clients love her so much. So after a while, I was tired of being, the only owner after being in a partnership with for such a long time, that I decided to let's say promote her as a partner because she deserves it. But when you start a business with somebody else, it's not easy. And I agree that you need to have fun, and we had a lot of fun. People looked at us and we looked like idiots, and we were kind of idiots, but we had a lot of fun, and people didn't understand why, because it's one of those friendships that you have this code that you look at each other and say, please don't laugh, please don't laugh. And you're in some situations like serious conversations with investors, with I don't know how many people, and we were like, no man, don't do this to me. It's like, look away. Like that that is priceless. It's priceless. So it's amazing that you found that. So could you please now walk us through the moment you realized you wanted to turn your, let's say, frustration with the bags at the time, with the existing bags into a business?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2019, I was living in New York at the time, working corporate real estate. Xander was in DC working at in fintech, and we've for a long time now had a lot of shared passion for entrepreneurship, creativity, problem solving, and it's just something we've kind of seen eye to eye on for many years. So at the time, I found myself facing this problem where I would get up, try to have these great productive days in New York City where you start up early in the gym, you make your way from a gym to an office to a social gathering, or maybe it's an overnight business trip where you find yourself on the road for one day. And it was just constantly struggling with just carrying multiple bags. Frankly, functionally and aesthetically, I just simply could not find one solution that really served me on those greatest days. And it was very apparent in just taking the subway to and from work every single day that a lot of people were dealing with the same issue, carrying multiple bags, gym bag, briefcases, some combination thereof that was just burdening them in their day to day. And Xander and I were chatting, and this issue kind of came up, and it was clear, I think, that this issue was resonating with Xander as well. And we said, you know what, Xander was going to be back in New York a few weeks later. Like, let's put our heads together and see, if there is something that exists out there, and if not, let's try to run at this ourselves. And that's kind of how the conversation got going, and then has obviously led to a lot more.
Amazing. And what happened next? How did you decide to actually give it a shot? And how did you start, creating the product and trying to identify if what you felt with the bags was a shared feeling, among your, friends, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing when we started talking about this problem was like, hey, we both are experiencing this problem where days that we love are burdened by multiple bags and not having the right equipment for us. Um, Gym bags that don't belong in an office ending up in an office, luggage ending up under a table at a dinner. So we both really felt this pain. And then we looked around and we just could see lots of our colleagues, people in public transportation also experiencing that pain. But the first thing we did beyond that was start talking to tons of friends and starting to pull together like what's that target persona that we're trying to go after. Where do they live? What do they like to do? What are their hobbies? What careers do they work in? What do they value? And starting to pull a list of people we knew through our personal lives and having really in-depth conversations with them of, how do you pack your bag? When do you pack your bag? When do you go home? What does your day look like? What does your travel look like? And I think through these conversations, we really validated that like this problem is happening and is common at least to a degree. And the other thing for that first stage of our chapter was of our sort of journey was talking with each other and saying like, hey, success right now means creating a product that we're proud of. And I think that was the first goal was like, let's just create one sample that we think looks good. And I think having those at every stage, there's been some immediate goal that feels very manageable and approachable. Not like, hey, let's build $100 million company. Because I think if the goal is so big, like you burn out. But our very first goal was like, let's just create a product, one sample that we're proud of, that we think solves this problem. We listed out a bunch of design criteria. One of our favorite ones was it had to be something you were proud to show up to a date with. So we didn't want to look like bulky or bad. Like it had to be sleek and cool and something you'd be proud to wear. It needed to look good with a suit. It also needed to look good with workout clothes. It needed to have certain functionality. So we constructed this design criteria and said, let's just like make one sample of this product. And that's when like really we had the goal and we had the parameters and like then got into like research and development and the prototyping phase.
I like the fact that you were asking open-ended questions, where when you were trying to, gauge interest about this potential product, and not just yes or no questions, were questions with, looking for the no or looking for the yes. Do you like your current gym bag? Would you like whatever? Yes, no. It's more about that. I was discussing that with another guest the other day, and it's probably one of the ways that, for those listening to this or watching this, why not? When if you're trying to create a product, engage interest, probably it's better to do the open-ended questions, right?
Absolutely. I come from kind of a similar mindset in that, like, formerly, prior to working with Xander, like when I thought of customer interviews and learning and finding data points, my questions probably would have been more geared towards, what do you like about your bag? What don't you like about your bag? Would you like X, Y, and Z? Xander happens to be fantastic at customer research, data gathering, and like truly, like, watching him set up these customer journey interviews has taught me a ton about that, and completely echo those sentiments that in doing, critical research for building anything, whether it's tech, consumer goods, anything that you're trying to build, I would certainly emphasize how important not only the research and interviewing process is, but how you conduct it as well, and really asking those open-ended questions to give your potential market and customers and people who are participating in the interview just free reign to really just chat and speak stream of consciousness, because that's where you really start to gain those awesome insights.
Yeah, 100%. So, how do you take the product to market? Did you find product market fit right away? How did you do that? Or did you run into some challenges that you didn't expect to run into?
Yeah, certainly a mix. I think for us, when we were thinking about product market fit, we wanted to do it in kind of a strategic and kind of slow growing way that would kind of give us insights and data, but not overextend us. We weren't in a position where we were going to go order 20,000 units and kind of cross our fingers and hope for the best. We had to be smart, but we also really wanted to see if there was product market fit there. So to approach this, we first did a friends and family launch where we ordered about 300 units. We had launched our website, built the brand, got all the creative assets that could really let us market the product efficiently, and conducted basically a pre-sale to friends and family, their networks, kind of a few degrees of separation from our networks, and had success there, which was our first glimpse into, like, there is product market fit here. There were people spending real dollars on this product that we created. And that told us that, we had something here that was resonating. That being said, it was, friends and family. So there was still a little bit in our minds, like, are they just being good friends and family? But that was at least the first phase.
Yeah. And I would say of those 300 units, maybe 150 we sold to friends, family, word of mouth. But those last 150 that's when we really started to branch out to strangers. And I mean, we did everything from literally going to Central Park with a sign that said, ask us about our bags, and stood on street corners for like hours. And people would come up and say, oh, can you tell me about your bags? And we just had like so many conversations. We saw what was resonating with people. And then people were like, oh, this is cool. I can buy this online. And we're like, yeah, here's the website. And they'd go and they'd buy it. So I feel like that first phase was, you hear it all the time, like doing things that don't scale. It was really just about like doing whatever we could to move product, engage with customers. And I think we learned a ton. And like there was nothing more rewarding than those first sales to strangers,
Yeah.
where it's like, really, you're gonna give me your money for this? Like, that's so cool.
It was definitely like a top moment in the journey so far. Just meeting somebody on the street who said, how can I buy this? I mean, we had boxes with us literally in Central Park, and a few minutes later we had sold a couple of those boxes, and we were looking at each other like, this is absolutely crazy. But that was kind of the first phase. And then we get more into our Kickstarter, which was our real foray into the public eye, when we really started to gain confidence that there was product market fit. Again, still doing so in kind of a safe, controlled way, but that's when we started to really get into the digital marketing game, learning kind of the ins and outs of marketing on Google and Meta, and reaching customers that were all across the world, that were obviously strangers to us.
I want to ask you about Kickstarter and then everything else you're doing to acquire customers in a minute. But before doing that, I wanted to, um, to repeat something you said, because it's wonderful to hear from founders that, that did something that not many founders do, that is so, let's say, old fashioned, but it works really well, that it's selling your first few products offline. You went to the Central Park, you said, with a sign saying,
Yeah.
ask me. Sorry, I will write about this on LinkedIn and everywhere because this is a coincidence or not, I don't know, but I'm giving a master class to a beautiful e-commerce community in the UK. Shout out to the Ecom Collab Club. It's a beautiful e-commerce community. Next week, they are going to be hearing from me, unfortunately for them. And in that master talk, it's like the top 10 things that the successful brands, at least the ones that I interview, are doing in 2024 to succeed. It's not about the, tricks and shortcuts days. Those days are over, of course. And the first thing I'm saying, is having a great product. And the first, I swear to God, I will show you offline. The first bullet point is sell it offline. It's the first bullet point of the whole presentation. And for some people, I might get some laughs. Some people might laugh at me because of saying that, but that still work, and you are proof of that. So yeah, I just wanted to say that for everyone again going through the same situation. Don't be afraid. Don't put excuses and say, "Oh, my website is not perfect. Oh, my ads don't look great." Just go and set it offline, right?
Absolutely.
It's still something we do today. Like we just a few weeks ago did a pop-up at SoulCycle. A couple months ago, we did a pop-up at a hotel. And these experiences for us really aren't about like the volume. It's not about the number of units we sell there. It's that, we see every day people come to our website and then they don't buy. And we don't know why they don't buy. But when you are in person with people, you can see what are the questions they're asking you, what is going through their mind in the buying decision, what are their concerns, and that in-person feedback you can then apply to your digital funnel and like really improve it. So it's really a way to just not be flying blind in the e-commerce space.
For I don't know how many years ago, I don't recall. I'm not that old. I'm 37, but I don't recall the year of this, probably 2015. I had two brick and mortar stores that I bought to a franchise. The stores were already there and I bought them out, and I kept the stores. It was bags that we sold, travel bags, luggage and bags, backpacks, etc. And we had those two for 2 or 3 years. We didn't know what we were doing. We were selling services, the agency, but then there was an opportunity and we thought we could handle it and we couldn't. But I learned a lot. And what I learned is what you're saying. People came to the store and is there a zip here? How many pockets? What are the sizes of the pockets? And different questions that you can, see what they look at, if they, even when they don't ask you anything, when they are just looking around and they just find something that didn't find, and then you approach them and say, okay, what were you looking for? And they say what they were looking for, and they give you ideas. So I can, yeah, 100%. That experience gives you way more than volume, way more.
Absolutely. I mean, people were even coming up to us and after getting to know us and conversing with us a little bit, saying, what about thinking about, displaying the bag like this? Like, this is the feature that really drew me in, not this one as much. And then all of a sudden that triggers to us like, okay, this is, a big kind of, that's a big feature that's important to somebody that should be spotlighted, not just in person, but also, like Xander said, on our digital funnel. But you really can learn so much. It was so fun too. Like, I can guarantee going to Central Park with a sign that said "Ask us about our bags" is a little bit more fun than programming Facebook ads. And
Yeah,
there's some good clips of it on our Instagram and TikTok if you don't believe us.
that what I was going to say one thing. I will give you two things. Well, one is for you, and the other one is for everyone, or everything is for everyone, I guess. The first one, somebody, I don't know, a few years ago said, "Do you know why Taylor Swift, does things that are non-scalable? She goes to some birthday parties, from random people, fans, because on one hand, it's doing something different, right? Probably have different reasons than Taylor Swift, right? You need it, or you needed that back then and you need it today, and we all need it, but it does scale because, as you said, it scales through social because
Mhm.
it's these days it's content, right? And the second thing is in line with this, there's a beautiful brand. It's a men's underwear brand I interviewed a few years ago, and they give me too much food for thought, as you guys say, because it's like what they do, they are different, right? Their name is man-made, man-made. There are four Canadians, four founders, and they are the face, the body, and everything for the brand. They are in their underwears, literally in every piece of content on the website, on socials. And what they do is amazing. Not only people see clips from them, they are super funny. They also do things like, I don't know, calling their customers, and they record content from those calls as well. They are like this on speaker with the customer on the phone, asking them whatever questions. And it shows people two things. One, they care and call the customers. And second, testimonials like right there. And third, it, it's showing their unique personality, because having a unique personality is part of having a unique branding, etc. It's what makes you stand out, so it's super cool.
I love that. I think those are great. And I've listened to that episode. It's a great episode. And I love that idea. We have conversations all the time with our customers. I think we need to start recording them and doing something with them.
Yeah, because you guys have already started doing, some content yourself, right? Founders led content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's another huge point of emphasis for us. I think as we find and test what works and what resonates with our customers, it became pretty clear pretty quickly that the UGC founder transparent content is something that people start to appreciate when they can actually see kind of who's behind the brand. It really begins to resonate, whether that's certain stories, certain parts of our journey, our trip overseas, working with athletes, just being together on a day-to-day basis, humor, emotion, all that stuff. I think it's definitely what sticks out most, especially when so many of these brands are kind of a little bit faceless as they grow bigger and bigger, and you can't really kind of see what's behind the brand itself.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I'm going to say something that might be obvious, but it probably is a reminder for me and for everyone else who needs to hear this. You love your brand, you love your products. It's your baby, right? And you have all the information, all the reasons, all the story behind, like, to justify creating it and buying it as a customer. But customers don't. They don't know anything about your brand. All they see is the product. They see just another bag, and you can say, but it's not just another bag. You know, it's all this. But there's no way on earth they can know all of that in a fraction of a second, and so they need to be educated. Through many stimulus. They need to be educated on that. And probably one thing that I really loved that I heard recently is about branding and having a unique personalities. If I ask you, like, if you imagine this, what would an Apple hotel look like? Can you imagine that? What does a Nike, hotel look like? Can you imagine that? And if I tell you, what does an FTL Bags hotel look like? Can you first imagine that? If you draw the same things or write the same things, are you both going to write the same things? What about your customers? I really love that analogy, and I think it's educating people through UGC, but mainly through your perspective, your customers. It's needed these days.
Yeah, I love that exercise. I think we should do that exercise. I think that we would probably have like the exact same answer of what the FTL hotel looks like. And I'd be very curious what our customers would say. I'm guessing it's not even close. And I think that's something we've talked about before. I think we've spent 5 years living and breathing this brand, and we know the ethos and values of this brand inside and out. But I don't think we've done as good of a job as we could in communicating that to our customers. But it's something that we are definitely working on. And I think we've started doing more email campaigns, and I think that's been a really good way to explain the brand a little bit more, and we're starting to put things out on social media more. But there's definitely a lot more we can be doing there that we will be working on.
You're doing only short or long form content too?
Just short form content to date. I'm curious what your thoughts are on short form
No,
versus
I always say the same thing. I'm a nobody. I know nothing. I repeat what I hear from people, and of course, with the clients we help. But through the pod, I learn a lot, from amazing brands. And what I have learned is that regardless of the size, seven, eight, nine-figure brands that have been here on the show have said that they are leveraging both, and I can see why. Long-form content is not something from the past. It's something very current. We all consume, or many of us consume long form content in some situations. Probably I could dare to say, and this is like myself, that we consume long form content when we want to make, you know, some decisions, or we want to investigate something, let's say more serious, while probably short form content is what we bumped into, the social feed. We are scrolling through the Instagram or TikTok feed, and we bumped into that content. But when we talk about, how to ask the ideal bag for whatever, short form could be good, still could do its job, but long form content is where those how to live. Like if you want to look for a how to, do you go to YouTube or do you go to Instagram or TikTok, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And we've actually had, I mean, like I said, to date, pretty much everything we're putting out is short form on Instagram, TikTok. We've had a couple customers reach out recently who said, hey, like this buying decision was difficult because you had no long form content on YouTube. I think particularly for a product like a bag or anything that you really need to touch and feel and use, particularly an innovative product where I think our bag has a lot of features and capabilities that just doesn't exist in the market and people need to be educated on. For those types of products, having long form content is probably really important. And again, like I've probably actually had in the last month, like 3 or 4 customers mention things about, hey, wish there was content on YouTube that was a little bit more long form, reviewing the bag, highlighting the bag, etc. So certainly, we're hearing demand from customers for that sort of stuff. I think particularly probably later in the buying decision funnel.
I mean, both are important, both of them. But one
Mm,
thing I would say is that we have seen success for some of our clients uh, with the long form content for, in the, let's say, post purchase email flows. We didn't say, we didn't pitch any products or any offer. We just sent them an email saying thank you and educating them because we wanted to, let's say, activate them, into using the product. Some products, makeup or even this product, you need to activate people, right? They bought one. If they don't ever use it, for this, probably it's likely that they use it, but for makeup or for other products, sometimes they leave in the shelf, then people don't ever use it. So in this case, even by educating people, you know, in this case, the possibilities, the use case scenarios, blah, 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 it can actually trigger future purchases or instant purchases, even if you don't pitch anything else, right? And so long form is, you can see it both as a marketing content, but also as a, let's say, repository. It could be both of, the content. The long form content lives in, let's say, on YouTube, but then you link it from everywhere, from guides that you write for SEO purposes, and you include the videos, emails, like you can use it everywhere. Probably short form, people are more used to watching them on the feed, right? At least that's what I think.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you about short form because you know, many founders I have met here on the show, clients in the audience, they are shy, afraid, or just don't want to be in front of a camera, and that's okay. And what I always tell them is, I try to, without forcing anybody into doing what anything they don't want, it's trying to highlight the importance of, in 2024, being in front of a camera and having what you have, founders led content. So some brands that don't want to do the, probably, let's say the founder doesn't want to do it, they have somebody else, and that's okay. It's still valid. But the point is, have the content creation in-house, even if it's the raw footage and it's not ad material, but be out there and create content. So I wanted to ask you about, you said the why, wanted to do that, and I wanted to ask you about the process. How many hours do you spend creating content per week or per month? Do you plan the content ahead? Is it more spontaneous? How do you plan? Yeah, how do you plan that?
Yeah, I think we couldn't agree more. I think people say content is king, and I think we agree. I think we say quality is also extremely important. And in some aspects, it is, you do need to test and optimize and continuously pump out new material to see what works and resonates. So quantity also plays a role. But I think especially at the beginning, when we were really truly bootstrapped and doing everything in-house. I mean, we did everything from, we were filming each other, we were cutting it up, we were adding clips, adding music, editing, from pre-production, post-production, all of that stuff. I mean, the one time really was when we needed our e-commerce photos. We outsourced because we didn't have access to a studio and all that, which is obviously critical for any consumer goods, and especially our bag. But outside of that, it was just, and there's no way around it. It can be very uncomfortable to look at a camera and see yourself on camera, and it's just kind of a necessary evil. But the more you do it, the more comfortable and okay you get with just having fun with it. It's okay to feel embarrassed. Like, it might look weird to you, but at the end of the day, when it's put into an ad or a TikTok or whatever, the people watching it are gonna, if they're enjoying it, they're gonna watch it. And if not, they're just gonna scroll by. So it really just doesn't matter. And again, the more reps you get, the more comfortable you feel. I think now we're trying, because it's so critical to constantly just be refreshing content and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. We've started outsourcing a little bit. We've hired one person to work alongside us who's been excellent in helping revamp our socials and curating new content and kind of feeding into the trends that are going on in the market. And then also just working with a number of creators that we've kind of found through, they've reached out, we've reached out, whether it's Instagram, Fiverr, people that you can tell pretty quickly. Obviously, you want to give some direction, but we've found that a couple of these creators have really just immediately kind of understood the brand and what we're going for. And you don't need that many. I don't think at this stage, because if they're good and they're constantly able to create new content, you can just work with them to help really get some high quality content that is probably better than what we're able to put out on our phones.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. And I think, we have a very small list of creators we work with. I think pretty much all of them reached out to us, which I think is a great self-selection process, because people are reaching out to us if they like the product. They want to be involved with the brand. They're not doing it just because the brand reached out to them. Like, clearly there was some interest already on their side. And I think that has been a great way to find some really talented photographers and videographers. And then I think we have like Ryan said, a small roster of people we just continually work with to help us get some really cool shots of the bags in different parts of the world with different aesthetics on different people. And then, that's a part of our content. And then I would say maybe that's 30% of our content. And then 70% of the content is stuff that we ourselves are doing.
Yeah, and it's not just anybody. I have the understanding that you have built a relationship with some elite athletes. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've been very lucky in that a couple of athletes just really like our product and really like the brand and are super nice, awesome people. So we've been able to develop those relationships, and then those relationships have sort of spurred additional relationships. So, I mean, if you go on our website, you'll see, a couple of people featured who maybe Dan Orlovsky, who ex-NFL quarterback and ESPN analyst, Graham Gano of the New York Giants. And then we've been lucky to work with a couple other athletes who we haven't posted any content with yet, but two folks who are just in the Olympics.
Yeah.
A couple of guys on the Yankees, a couple of guys on the Dodgers, some hockey players. So athletes have been loving this product, and we've been able just to use their genuine interest in the product to build good relationships. And they've been lucky and happy to send over photos and videos of them using it. And we've honestly just become sort of friendly with a bunch of them.
How did you get in touch with these amazing people?
It's a great question and a fun anecdote to tell. But truthfully, we found ourselves, over the last few years and just trying to get this into, the hands of people that we think not only like would the product be helpful for, but also the brand resonate. Again, the brand is all about celebrating great days, kind of working hard, having those awesome days, whether that's like a, you know, high powered executive or a professional athlete. We definitely thought sports was a great path for us and one that we could see ourselves getting into. It just fortunately for us happened a little bit faster than we expected because we were essentially just, we're lifelong Giants fans, lifelong New York sports fans. So we found ourselves just messaging players, left and right. Frankly, it's a volume game at this stage, and just trying, reaching out saying, hey, we have this bag. It's helped us in, all these great ways. We think it'd be perfect for you for those road trips, games away. We'd love to get one in your hands. Feel free to give it a shot. And 99 out of 100, people did not answer. But the first one that did in particular was Graham Gano, the kicker of the Giants, and he couldn't have been nicer. He said, "Hey, bag looks awesome. Would love to give it a try." So we were going to get him one monogrammed with his initials and send it over, but it just so happened to coincide with the preseason camp for the New York Giants, which is like pretty easy to attend. And we said, you know what, let's just get it made and buy tickets, go out there ourselves, let him know, and maybe we'll get one picture with him. We'll at least get to give it to him, introduce ourselves, shake his hand, and say thank you. But that turned out to be an awesome decision because we got to meet him. He was the most genuine, awesome guy. Loved getting to know us and the product, and was like so kind about getting some videos and telling us his thoughts on the product. And that turned into a really awesome relationship and friendship that we still have now, and was kind of our segue into athletics. And we ended up turning that into tons of content that really resonated with other consumers and athletes. And that's how we kind of grew from there.
Yeah, I would say once we posted the story of our day going to that practice and the bag we made with him, I think one, it was so authentic, and it was our personalities, and it was us doing these things that don't scale and really showing like the hustle and the bustle of us like driving an hour to go to Giants practice, like in the stands, hoping he's going to see us. So I think it was just felt really authentic, and that story resonated with a lot of people. And I think regular consumers, but also a lot of athletes. And then the outreach started from there. Hey, I saw what you did with Graham. We had Ken Griffey Jr. reach out and do order a bunch of bags for an event he was doing with the MLB this past summer. Pretty much every professional sports league in the US, folks were reaching out, from MLS, NBA, NHL, NFL, reaching out, wanting product. And so I really just feel super blessed to have those conversations. PLL, can't forget, Professional Lacrosse League, my personal favorite. We have some traction there too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you guys felt when you had the first reactions from other athletes after that first thing that you did with this one, because to have athletes come to you guys to ask for product, that must be huge for you.
Yeah, it's still like a feeling that when we get the inbounds, like my jaw still hits the floor and kind of like pinch me moments. I mean, like these are professionals that we love and follow like throughout their careers, and have just kind of conversations with them and talk to them it's been really special and fun. I think Xander mentioned Ken Griffey Jr. That's one in particular where my like jaw fully hit the ground. Like we weren't together at the time, but I had a message pop up into our account from Ken Griffey Jr. And I just immediately was like, this can't be real. Like, this is probably getting punked. I texted Xander. I was like, dude, you have to look at the inbox right now. And not only was it like real, but it was him. And that message turned into an hour and a half FaceTime with him, where I couldn't really get over what was going on. We were learning about everything from his growing up to the safaris to him being an avid photographer, and just built like an awesome relationship. And he ended up wanting to buy a number of bags for his awesome charity event with the MLB and All-Star Weekend, which we were able to do for him. So that was really a cool moment. And still, anytime conversations like that happen, it's still kind of those pinch me moments.
Yeah, That's amazing. And it all comes down to having a great product. Of course, you need to go out there, let people know about it, but without a great product, not even good, a great product, people would probably shake your hand, say nice things to you, but never reach out, and you couldn't have the other, athletes reach out to you. So yeah, it's great product is probably is one of the main things. I wanted to ask you about, probably two more things. Um, at some point of your career together of the story of this brand, you spent like 3 weeks in China with manufacturers. When was it?
That was in June. So we got back, we arrived back from Asia July 1st or 2nd. So we got
Nice.
back about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
And why did you go? I was expecting to hear it was more in the beginning. So why did you decide to go now? And what were the main takeaways from it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Why we went, there were, I think, a number of times in the product development cycle where we felt like this change or improvement we want to make on the product is so specific and complicated that we don't even know how to communicate it like without being in person, and we're not confident that they'll get it correct. And for them to then make a sample, send it to the US, which takes 10 days, us inspect it, come up with our feedback, send it back. We're like, these small changes are going to take 2-3 months. Developing new products is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 months of scheduling phone calls, sending things back and forth. So I think a big part of it was like we just recognized we can really accelerate product development if we're in person with them. And then I think there was probably also personally like we want to see this being made. We want to understand what this factory looks like, what all the steps are. And we want to, meet the people who are like been so integral to our journey in getting here. And I think we achieved like all of that and more. And I think something that we maybe didn't really expect going into it, but we just really understood like how manufacturing works, like what is easy for them to do, what's difficult for them to do, like what each specific step in the manufacturing process looks like. And I think there were a couple of aha moments for us where we're like, oh, we sometimes have this issue with the bag where it's not strong enough in this part, and we never really understood why. But now we see it's because this step in the manufacturing process, they're doing it like this, is causing this issue down the line. So I think across learning about the manufacturing process, visiting the different suppliers and vendors, being in person about what their capabilities are, just really in that month taught us so much about our product and what we can do. So it was an amazing experience, and the food was incredible too.
The food was great. And I completely echo Xander's sentiments across the board. I think at the end of the day, technology is great. You can do a lot these days with technology, and we were able to do a lot sitting at our desks in Brooklyn, New York, communicating with people across literally the entire world. But like Xander said, for us, it was going out and making all these changes and developments to our product, but we walked away with just a better understanding and also some amazing relationships. I mean, we'd been working with partners for 3 years that we have gotten to know so well, but had never been able to shake their hand or give them a hug or be with them in person. And when we got there and met everybody, it was like nothing different than the last 3 years. But to be able there and to go through the factory at them and have, you turn a corner and you see 2,000 FTL bags and we're looking at each other, like it was a special moment. And it was special to be with these people who have been so integral to the FTL journey and be able to sit with them and eat with them and chat with them about FTL and life in general. And yeah, we're really fortunate for that month we had.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally see that. And it's something very, very similar to what Kyle Bergman, the founder of a brand called Swoveralls, said a few weeks ago. He spent a few, weeks, I think it was, too, in China, and he said the same thing. It wasn't only about, communicating things in a better way, being there. It wasn't only about meeting the manufacturers. It was also about trying to see things, about the process, understanding the same thing is that what was complicated, what was easy, what could save us money, in the cost of manufacturing the product, and what was probably, sometimes you want something that is not crucial for the product, but it's costing you a lot, that alone. And he said, hey, what if we remove this? Or what if we change these to be different, and probably reduces the cost, and it allows you to have, either higher margins or reduce the price as well. So I think, and the food, as you said, pretty important. I'm curious, do you expected to see what you experience, or what do you expect to experience what you ended up experiencing while you were there? Did you imagine like the future, or food that you wouldn't like or whatever, and then you got there, or people with a totally different culture that you couldn't be able to communicate properly? What did you thought? What do you think, and how things turned out?
Yeah, I mean, so we spent most of our time in Shenzhen, and it's just such an incredibly modern and safe and clean city. I think that's like the first thing that comes to mind of surprise, is just how clean and technologically advanced that place is. And you talk to everyone there, and they tell you 40 years ago this was a small fishing village, and to see such a huge city and think this was the oldest building here is like 35 years old is really crazy. I think the other thing that shocked me was just how well oiled the supply chain there is when it comes to manufacturing. If you have like your factory, and then you drive 20 minutes and you have like a massive leather factory with every leather supplier. And then you drive another 5 minutes and you have a zipper market with every zipper supplier, and you can talk to them and see their goods. And then you walk another 10 minutes down the road and there's a nylon supplier. And this is true of so many different industries. We were there just specifically for soft goods, but with one day in one car, and not really even having to drive that far, you can touch every piece of the supply chain, from the raw goods to the factory, to the packaging supplier, to the freight forwarder. And so just that was really amazing too. That shocked me, and just how integrated and close knit the supply chain is, and like all the advantages that it affords them.
Yeah, amazing. What were 3 weeks? Was 3 weeks enough, or probably you could have stayed longer?
If we had stayed longer, there's plenty more I think that we wanted to do and wanted to accomplish. There's endless things you can do while you're there. And like Xander said, what we were able to do, I think there in the span of 3 weeks probably would have taken us at least 4 months sitting at our desks, just because how much faster you can move, how much quicker you can see things. When we were looking at new colors from here, it was get the swatch in the mail, like look at and try to put the squares together to make something good, send it back, get the sample back, be like, no, that's not right. When we were there, we can ask them, work with the factory to generate 5 just panels of our bag and mix and match colors. And within 48 hours, we've tested 5 things. We've come up with like 3 new colorways that we want to release at some point. And I think there's so much of that type of work that you can accomplish there. I think for our first trip, 3 weeks, was great. And we did everything we wanted to do and more, but there's always so much more you can do.
Yeah. What's next for the company?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think what we're really focused on is scaling up. I think we feel really good about our product. We feel really good about our underlying operations and supply chain, and we put a ton of work into making sure that all of that is in a place where it's ready to scale. And it's not trivial setting up a fulfillment network, getting inventory here, figuring out partners that you trust, having a website that you believe presents your product well. So I think we've put in a lot of really awesome infrastructure, and now we're really focused on scaling and ramping things up. And that's across the D2C side on e-commerce. And that's also in a much more like white glove, human driven sales channel, in reaching out to organizations, businesses, and doing these custom deals. Because that's something we've seen a lot of success and traction in, is organizations coming to us saying, hey, can I get 20, 30, 40 bags with my company logo embroidered on it for me to give to my employees or investors or new folks who are joining the team? And so want to be a little bit more proactive there. But I would say for us, it's really about scaling, scaling this primary product. And then one of the things we accomplished in Asia was developing 2 new products. And so bringing those to market as well, which will hopefully meet the needs of some customers who currently their needs are not being met by this current bag. So I think we're really excited to launch those as well and see the traction there.
Amazing. Last question I have for you guys. Do you have any book that you love that you would like to share with the audience? Or it could be someone you admire that you follow, or it could be a mentor, you know. Do you have any to share with the audience?
Yeah, I'll start off with a book, and this is probably an answer you've gotten before on the show. I'm not sure, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't. But Shoe Dog, which is the story of Nike's founding. That was the first thing we read when we started this, and I think it's given us so much inspiration and motivation. You look at Nike today, it's a massive, hugely successful brand, maybe one of the most valuable brands in the world. And to know that there were stages when he was almost broke, when the business almost went under, to know he was struggling to get inventory in the door and dealing with bad products and financing and all these challenges that any consumer good company deals with at the beginning, and hearing him firsthand explain those and then seeing where Nike is today, I think just has given us a lot of confidence of these things aren't bad, they're necessary. Phil Knight had to deal with it, so he turned out okay.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh no, and Phil Knight had to deal with them, and he turned out okay. So I think it's been a real inspiration and sense of motivation for us.
I was writing it before you said it. I don't know why I thought you were going to mention that book, and I think it's maybe this book inspired you to do, besides what you said, the following, or maybe it didn't. But whenever I give the example in this masterclass of selling things online, that's exactly what this guy did. To be fair, there wasn't like Shopify or any online thing. There wasn't internet, but the guy, drove everywhere and sold shoes out of the trunk of his car. So he wasn't shy about it. He was like with the sign in, not in the Central Park, but maybe he was too. And then the other thing is traveling to China. As you know, he spent in Japan first, time after time after time there. So it's like the importance of meeting people, and that's why I asked the question. If you had the same impression before and after the trip. He talks about that too a lot. So yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, I'm thinking about this one. It's a great recommendation. It was mentioned in the show, but it's a great reminder for everyone, because if you didn't read it, if you in the audience didn't read it, it's a great one. And what about you, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to quickly jump in there, I think like Xander said, we read it at the beginning of our journey, and it has inspired so many different things and endeavors that we've taken on. But also I couldn't not pull it out when we were like on the plane to China and like throughout that trip, and like every I'd be like waking Xander up, like, dude, look at this quote, look at this quote. I mean, it was literally, there were so many parallels drawn from especially those beginning stages of the journey. And it was like, I would get goosebumps on the plane reading about this person he met. I was like, oh, that's like this person we met, or like this trip he took when he was just starting out. So it was awesome to kind of bring that, to that part of the journey when we were away. I can talk about a mentor of ours. I think we have so many, awesome mentors and advisors, too many to count, that have been so generous with their knowledge and time. I think one individual that stands out, his name's Kurt Nichols. He was introduced to us by a friend of mine, and he started this incredible ski goggle company called Glade Optics out of Breckenridge, Colorado, I believe. But Kurt has just been a wizard in all things e-commerce. I mean, before Xander and I started thinking about a Kickstarter, started thinking about our digital marketing funnel, we really didn't know much. Obviously there's so much out there that you can read, but you can't really replace talking to somebody who's done it before and can at least direct you. So while we do definitely think it's important to try to figure out as much as you can by yourself, it's also so valuable to talk to somebody who's done it before and can take their 5 years of knowledge and help you kind of condense that into 1 year essentially. And I think it's So we're very grateful to him. He shared so much of his time and wisdom with us, all things e-commerce, funding, all that good stuff that comes with this job. And I think for Xander and me, you know, obviously we're still at the beginning of this, hopefully a long way ahead, but have learned from him and others so much, as well as the journey, you know, how much we've learned. And I think talking to somebody like that makes us eager to talk to people who are a couple years behind us. So obviously goes without saying, you know, anyone listening or anyone that we ever come across who is interested in starting anything, we always not only are willing, but like love to share what we've learned, because of so many people have done the same for us.
Yeah, and I think to be an entrepreneur, you need to have those two things that you mentioned. Like one thing is to be resourceful and figure things out for yourself, but another is to be humble and ask for help and ask for advice because there are like way too many people way ahead of you, right? And if you want to get there, as you said, faster and not, going through the same mistakes as they went, it's probably really important to, yeah, to do that, to ask for help. I This is not a plug of a mentorship or anything like that. I don't offer that, but I am a mentor for free in a platform that is beautiful. You can find way better mentors than myself. It's called Growth Mentors, and it's you have like free and paid mentors. I do it for free because I like giving back. You know, there's you can find mentors for whatever you want, right? You can find mentors for doing, I don't know, how to acquire customers on through ads or through email, or how to validate, product market fit, how to whatever, right? There are many things going on. It's a beautiful community that is free for marketers, business owners, and any entrepreneur. It could be for life coaching, career coaching. You have a lot of mentors there. Some mentors are coaches, not all of them. So asking for help these days is really easy, guys. It could be if you know them, like someone you know, of course, but there are platforms like these or Mentor Pass you know, to ask for help, and you would be surprised, right?
That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Yeah. So this was amazing. I wanted to thank you both for coming to the pod and do an extended time because I know we are over time. So thank you for delivering a lot of value me to the audience. I think it's awesome what you're building, and you have everything that we discussed. You are resourceful, but you're humble as well. You like to, getting to know the people you work with. You're willing to do whatever to, validate whether people want what you sell and scale. So that's amazing. So yeah, thank you for coming on the show. And before you go, please tell the audience where they can go to learn more about you and the brand.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having us on. Like, this has been a wonderful conversation. You can learn a lot more about our products, ourselves, and our brand on Instagram at FTL Bags, or our website, ftlbags.com. So definitely check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff there. And I know we've been talking about the bag, so I think you'll want to go see it for yourself. So yeah, Instagram and website.
Yeah,
Amazing.
thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation, and appreciate what you're doing and all the content you're putting out there. I know that we gain a lot from it, as do others. So appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come on and share what we've learned in our story. And yeah, we're hoping that you guys check us out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And for everyone listening to this or watching, please remember to go to the DTCinsider.com. Once you find the episode, you will find there all the show notes, including the book that Xander mentioned and the person that Ryan mentioned too. So thank you guys again. I had a lot of fun.